Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today the Houston Texans had day 7 of 2023 training camp, and today was a really solid day for Texans training camp. Stroud had probably his best day throughout all 7 days of training camp after day 6 and day 7 struggles, and then having the day off yesterday. Stroud had arguably his best day of Houston Texans training camp. He went 6 for 9 today. Throwing a touchdown pass as well. Let's go over some headlines for the Texans. Sadly, I have some bad news to report. If you probably already heard about it, Houston Texans center/guard Scott Quisenberry, who started 15 games for the Houston Texans at center last season, at practice today, got carted off with a leg injury. And then Aaron Wilson, Texans insider, did announce per NFL sources that it does look like Scott Quisenberry, center, has torn his ACL and MCL and will be out for the rest of the season. Prayers up for Scott Quisenberry. I think it was going to be an interesting battle to watch throughout the rest of training camp between him and rookies Juice Struggs and Jace Patterson as well. Or Jake, is it Jake or Jace Patterson? The two rookies we drafted. But I mean, it's tough for him, but we'll see how Juice Ruggs takes care of that, because now he's most likely going to be the starting center for the Houston Texans, and he was our third round draft pick, and I think will be really interesting. I think now you'll have to keep a good eye on him, because I think this is his job now. I think now he will definitely be the starting center, unless they bring someone in to sort of do what Scott Quisenberry was doing, having sort of a competition. Those guys, Quisenberry and Scruggs, were kind of having a competition with each other. Maybe the Texans bring in another guy at that center position. I have no idea, but prayers up for Scott Quisenberry. Second big headline before we talk about how the Texans did at camp today: cornerback Steven Nelson, who's just been balling out for the Houston Texans throughout training camp, has looked amazing. Has gotten a restructured contract. His contract is going up to $6.5 million, which is about a $2 million raise. Well, yeah, exactly a $2 million raise, because his contract was supposed to earn $4.5 million in the 2023 season. Now he will make up a maximum of $6.5 million. So he could be making a $2 million raise. But I think Steven Nelson's going to have I think Steven Nelson's going to have an unbelievable season with the Houston Texans this year. But getting into the Texans today, like I said, Stroud bounced back after 2 struggles and an off day. Had his 2 worst days throughout camp on day 6 and day 5, which was day 6 was... today's, I can't remember. Today's Thursday. They had Wednesday off. Tuesday and Monday were his worst days of camp so far. But he bounces back now on Thursday's camp. But yeah, Stroud, what a day. Threw a touchdown pass, threw 6 for 9, and was looking the best he's looked throughout the whole camp. And that's just really good sign for CJ Stroud. And not only did CJ Stroud dominate, but Davis Mills looked really off today. He was 4 for 12. He just was not looking that great today. He had a couple wide receivers drop some balls. I just think that Davis Mills had one of his worst days, while CJ Stroud had one of his best. So that's just a really good thing for CJ Stroud while in an open quarterback competition. Going over some other quarterbacks going over some other players besides the 2 QBs, Robert Woods and Nico Collins both have a good day. Nico Collins was having kind of a better day than Robert Woods, but Robert Woods felt like he was making solid catch after solid catch. It's really the first I've really heard of from hearing stuff about what Robert Woods had been doing at camp. But it's good to finally hear some stuff about Robert Woods, and maybe be interesting to see him hit the field on a Thursday night on August 10th, a week from today. A week from today, the Houston Texans play on next Thursday, which today's Thursday as well. So we are a week away from the Houston Texans preseason opener against the Patriots in New England. Speaking of a former Patriot. Chase Winovich made his training camp debut today. The Houston Texans activated him from the injured list or the PUP list or whatever he's been on, and he had a really solid day. He made some nice plays out there. He was looking good out there. Made a couple tackles. Was really impressed with what I saw from Chase Winovich, or what I read about what Chase Winovich did today. What else? I mean, Roy Lopez had another solid day. He had a really solid day before the off day on Tuesday, so now he has really solid back-to-back days, was making some nice plays. It was on Tuesday where he had really nice back-to-back plays. He had a tackle where he stopped a run for a loss of yards, and then literally the next play he stopped a pass. So I mean, back-to-back decent days for Roy Lopez. He was doing really solid today for the Houston Texans defense. Another guy who's been dominant throughout a whole camp, and he continues to do that. Jimmy Ward had a good day with some hard hits. Hey man, if Jimmy Ward keeps hitting our offensive players as hard as he keeps doing it, I mean, by preseason week 1 we might have any offensive players. I mean, Dalton Schultz is, if you look at the injury report, he hit the hell out of Dalton Schultz. Now Dalton Schultz is questionable for week 1 against the Ravens. Not preseason, regular season. And today, Jimmy Ward had a hard hit against Robert Woods, wide receiver. Hope he's okay. Jimmy Ward, we'd love to see him play like this, but, I mean, save that for the New England Patriots players, because we can't afford any more players getting hurt on Jimmy Ward's conscience. But I love seeing him, ball out. I think he's going to have a great year, and he had another really solid day. He's been having an amazing 2023 training camp so far. How about the running backs? Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary had a really solid day, not only in the run game, but in the pass game as well. The pass game for the pass game today for the running backs was working really well. You saw a couple of really nice passes from C.J. Stroud to Dameon Pierce. Same thing goes for C.J. Stroud to Devin Singletary. And it was really nice to see, because we haven't really heard anything in the last couple of days of camp about these two running backs, and Dameon Pierce and Devin Singletary, and to hear that they both had really solid days, and they were not only working well in the run game, but they were also working well in the pass game with their quarterbacks. Really, really nice to hear for those two guys. Jacob Martin, who the Houston Texans re-signed a couple months ago, I think it was in May, played for the Texans acquired Jacob Martin for Jadeveon Clowney in the trade with Seattle, and he played for us for, I think, 2.5, 3 seasons, and the Texans re-signed him after he left us in free agency to go to, he either went to the Jets or the Broncos. I think, yeah, he left to play with the Jets, and then he got released or traded. He either got traded to the Broncos or he was released and then signed with the Broncos, and then just had a tough year last season, 2022, and now he comes back here. He had another good day of camp. He had a good day of camp on Sunday, and today he was breaking up some passes and making some hard tackles as well. Just doing some good things. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what Jacob Martin could do for the Texans. This Texans defense this year. I think it's going to be he's not going to have as big a role as he did a couple years ago, because a couple years ago this Texans defense was terrible. If you look at the 2021 season, he had a huge year in the 2021 season for this Texans defense. I think it's a little different now because this defensive line has improved quite a bit. And just the whole defense in general. But I think he should have a really solid season with the Houston Texans. And, we even saw him good when the Texans' defense was good, back when the Texans had a solid defensive line of J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless. And, he was a part of that group, and he really was solid then. Maybe with this Texans, better defensive line than they had in 2021, our defensive line is way better in this season than it was in 2021, where Jacob Martin had an unbelievable year for the Texans. Was probably, Jacob Martin was, if not the best, one of the best players for the Houston Texans defense in 2021. I don't think he'll have a huge impact, but I think he could bring in one of those impacts that he had for the Texans defense in 2020, that was the 2019 season. You might be able to see him bring that kind of impact for the Texans defense in the 2019-2020 season, he wasn't really a starter yet for the Texans, but you really saw him make a huge impact for the Texans off the bench, and he really kind of did that. But yeah, he had a really solid day for the Texans today. And, the defense has been playing well throughout the whole camp. So, I think, everything has really been going well for this Texans team. And Stroud bounced back today for the Texans. Some wide receivers like Robert Woods and Nico Collins had a really good day. The running backs had a really good day. Mills struggled. So Stroud is kind of ahead, I think, at least in my opinion, in the QB competition. Stroud has had, if you look at the days in training camp of, which quarterback has played better, Stroud has had 3 better days than Mills had, and then Mills has also had 2 better days than Stroud had. And then there's kind of 2 ties. So, Stroud has had 1 better day than Mills had, and with 3, and Mills has 2. If you're talking about wins and days, I think Stroud's 3-2, Mills is 2-3, and there's like kind of 2 ties because there was 2 days in training camp. I can't remember which days, but they played kind of equal, and both were playing really solid. But there was no really better quarterback than there was no real neither one was really better than the other. So, I think that Stroud, I think he's ahead in the QB competition right now, and I think this could be a chance for C.J. Stroud to just break it open and just take this QB job. But we'll see. I think what it will be very interesting to see is when the Houston Texans go to New England for their first preseason game, see him in a real NFL game, even though it's not regular season. This it's like actual NFL game where CJ Stroud hasn't. Mills has played an NFL game, Stroud hasn't. If Stroud can do really good in the preseason, maybe that can put a little bit of an edge for his potential. For the job for potential for CJ Stroud. Who knows? I think this. Honestly, I do think this. I don't think you'll see a starter announced until at least I think the latest you'll see a starter announced is probably after preseason week 3. I don't think a starter. I think the earliest you'll see a starter announced for the Houston Texans, whether it's Mills or Stroud, will be after preseason week 2. Latest is after week 3, which obviously that's probably the latest any quarterback would be announced. But I think DeMeco's going to take his time with this, especially with a rookie quarterback. But I do think CJ Stroud will ultimately end up winning the quarterback job for the Houston Texans. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoy them, your thoughts, and peace out. Go Texans.